Welcome to Schofield Farm. I can't wait to share with you today our pepper seed starting day. Well, peppers and sweet potatoes and ginger and eggplant and luffa. That is what we're doing today. These are seeds that you can start in January, at least in zone 9. You want to start a lot of these seeds 8 to 12 weeks before your last frost date, and so for us, this is the perfect timing to start them. And I am really excited. It makes me look forward to our spring summer garden, and just a reminder with all these gray skies and all the rain and the cold that beautiful flowers and colors and warmth are still coming soon. My name is Carice, and I'm excited to share this with you. I love gardening. I love growing our own food. We have 7 kids. We live in Northern California, and this is one of my favorite things to do, and I love sharing this kind of stuff with other people who are interested in it. I am going to share this and show you how we do it, and also I'm going to tell you a little bit of stuff going on in our personal life right now that will affect this channel, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. We're going to start with showing you what I did last night to get my ginger ready to plant. Welcome to Schofield Farm. It is a very exciting time of year. We are in January. It is the start of our seed starting time, and this is ginger that we grew ourselves. I have a whole video how we harvested it, and I'm going to very start prepping it to start it inside. The very first thing I do is I soak some ginger pieces in water overnight, or 24 hours. I'll probably just do overnight, or I'll do 2 days. It just depends on when I get to it in all reality. But I want to show you what that looks like, because I think maybe you should try growing ginger like me, and I'll take you along for the ride. Here is a bowl of water, and I am just going to take some pieces of ginger. I'm not even doing large pieces. And I'm going to soak these in the bowl. Just in the water for maybe 24 hours, maybe overnight, maybe 2 days. It really depends on when I get to it. Last time, I kind of think I did it 2 days, and it was totally fine. So here's just a few pieces of ginger. I already left some ginger in the ground as well, because I wondered if they would overwinter for us, just like we can overwinter dahlias. They are a tuber, or actually they're called a rhizome, but dahlias are also a rhizome. So I wondered if it would work. Okay, there's 5 knobs of ginger. I have some out there as well, so we're just going to leave this to soak, and then we will come back and show you what we do next. Hi, it's the next day, and I am going to do some seed starting with you. This is our January seed starting. What we start are peppers, eggplant, ginger, luffa, which that reminds me I need to find my luffa seeds, and sweet potatoes. And I actually do make my own seed starter mix. I am not confident it's the best mix ever, but it works for me. It's a cheaper route to go than buying lots and lots of different seed starter mix bags. So I'll show you what I put in. It's super simple. This seed starting mix is just equal parts of perlite, vermiculite, and peat moss. And I put some water in it. And then what I'm going to add is I'm going to add a little bit of these worm castings that I got from Costco. The reason I'm doing these versus maybe some homemade ones is this, I know, does not have bugs. It's like sterilized for packaging and stuff. So I'm just going to put some in. I'm not even doing perfect measurements. I just want to have a tiny bit of nutrition in there. I don't need a lot, but I just want a little bit in there. We will cup things up and give them more nutrition when they're ready to go to cup sizes. First, I fill my seed trays. You want your seed starter to be like a damp sponge, so you do want to get it wet first. Mine might be a little bit more than a damp sponge, but it's pretty close. That way I don't have to water the seeds while they're germinating really. They will have that moisture to get them started. And I always press down just to get the seed starter mix to the bottom of the tray. When I first started, I didn't always think of doing that. And so I would have some of my trays where the soil on the bottom was like, it's not actually soil, by the way, it's a seed starter mix. They are slightly different, but it was like floating. And so when I bottom watered, it didn't actually have the water reach it as well. So I learned that just from trial and error mistakes. Always press down the seed starter mix into the tray. These are very, very small cell trays. They're sets of 60, and they're like an inch by an inch. I think they're about, well, maybe 2 inches deep. And I saw Charles Dowding using them on his videos years ago, and I actually ordered them from one company that sells them. Otherwise, they're mostly in the UK and not found a lot in the US. I do like them for just their small space saving. My one complaint about them is they don't fit compatibly with my bottom watering trays. You see they fit like this. So I always have some space, so I have to put like extra cups or something in there if I'm not gonna just have the wasted room while I am starting seeds. Also, 60 in one tray is a lot. Next time I get more permanent trays like this that are really sturdy, I think I'll probably get some that hold less than 60, because I do find that different items germinate at different timings. These will all be peppers. If I was to do like peppers and tomatoes and that stuff in the same one, it would really be a problem with how fast they grow and how fast they germinate. All right, I already pre-marked all of my trays. And so I have them marked, like I'm gonna have jalapeno in 4 rows, shishito in the next 2. Then I have Alma paprika, Anaheim, and Sugar Rush peach finishes off this tray. I worked on this last night, just deciding how many of each I wanted to grow. That way I wouldn't have to decide on the day that I actually was starting my seeds. Jalapenos are a favorite for us. They're also the most popular pepper that I sell locally. I always sell my starts. I always overstart. A big reason I overstart is because I don't want to have germination problems and be disappointed about what I actually get in my garden. So I overstart, and then I have friends who are local gardeners who will buy extras from me. I used to do the same thing when I started gardening. I would buy all of my starts from my friend Robin, and I actually counted on her, being sure that she did a lot of different varieties and overstarted, and it was a wonderful way to learn gardening without having to know all the details of seed starting and that kind of stuff, you know, right when I started. So I feel like it's something that I can do to make sure I get the germination I want, the amount of plants I want, and help support other local gardeners in our community. And I'm going to do 2 pepper seeds per cell. I'm going to put them on the diagonal. Last year when I was looking at my records, my germination was not as great as I'd hoped. However, I had never used a heat mat before. After my peppers were done germinating and growing, I decided to invest in 2 heat mats for my tomatoes. Now, tomatoes don't actually need heat mats as much as peppers and eggplants. So I am hopeful that the heat mats are going to up my germination percent, but you know, seeds are not that expensive. If you always overstart a little bit, you should get good germination, regardless if you are able to use a heat mat or not. Some people put it on the top of their lights, but the type of lights we use are dangling from shelves, and they're actually LEDs, so they don't produce a bunch of heat like some other lights could, where those lights might, you know, do a purpose for you, where they'd warm it and they'd also give a light. Ours just give the light because, well, we're on all electric. We don't have gas. We don't have a wood-burning stove. So it's more cost-effective to invest in the LED and use less electricity. Okay, so as I said, I'm doing 4 rows of jalapenos. Last year we made a bunch of cowboy candy, but I had to actually supplement and buy from some local farmers and do some trays and different stuff because I didn't have quite enough jalapenos growing in my garden. I did mix my cowboy candy peppers. I used Santa Fe Grande and jalapenos this year. If my Hungarians do well, last year they didn't germinate, but this year I would probably add some Hungarians in as well. I do like the different flavors. I also do like the different colors. I think that's fun in a cowboy candy jar to see the green, the red, the orange, the yellow. I like the variety a lot. As you can see, I am planting on the diagonal here. I'm doing corner to corner. That way they have a little bit of room. They're not gonna be in these trays for super long. I will up them to their own cups and give them a little bit more nutrition when I do that. Peppers only need to be planted to about 1/8 of an inch deep, so I don't have to cover them with very much seed starter. A good way of figuring out how deep to plant your different seeds is you want to plant them to a depth of about twice the size of a seed. So if you look at the size of a pepper seed, you really don't have to plant it very deep at all. Now I'm actually gonna finish out the 1.5 rows I have left with some seeds that I saved from my jalapenos. There always is a risk that these have cross-pollinated because I do grow my peppers pretty close in proximity to each other. I feel like it helps them with wind, it helps them shade each other so they don't get sun scald, but it gives more of a possibility for cross-pollination. And for me, I'm okay with that. They're in a hot pepper bed. They're not mixed with the sweet peppers. So if anything, they will be some sort of mix of a different hot pepper and jalapeno. And for all of my intents and purposes, how I use them, that will be perfectly fine. But I am curious, you know, if that happens or if they actually end up producing true to jalapeno pepper. So starting the seeds with my saved seeds, this is my first time, I think, doing it like this many of the pepper seeds. I've done like saved seeds for basil, for lots of flowers, for lettuce, for onions, but I am curious, I'm super curious, and I can't wait to show you guys as time goes on if the jalapenos stay true. And I've got a couple others I'm doing. I'm doing Sugar Rush Peach, and I've got a couple others. I'm gonna have to look and remind myself, but it'll be an interesting experiment to see if me growing them so close together really does, you know, produce new varieties. And who knows, maybe I'll like invent some variety that, you know, goes like off the charts, is super amazing. Maybe. Next, I'm gonna start some luffa. I'm gonna do them in the cups. I'm just trying to maximize the room in this tray. Since I'm not gonna start enough luffa to do like a 60 cell thing, these are seeds from the luffa that I harvested. This one might not be viable, but the rest of them look pretty good. So we are gonna try, again, another experiment from saving seeds. I love to try and grow things from our own seeds. So I'm going to put these, I'm gonna put, let's see, I think I'm gonna put like maybe 4 in a cup. And again, I will separate these as they come up. I would like to have a couple that make it in my garden. Now, I have problems with bugs eating transplants of things like luffa or squash. So I totally know that some of these might not live, and that's why I'm gonna have backups, not just for germination, but also so I can plant them out if the bugs do eat the young seedlings. Next, I'm going to do my eggplant. I bought a new eggplant this year. This is from Redwood Seeds. It's called Rosa Bianca, and I just thought it was really pretty colored. That's the only reason why I decided to try this, in addition to the ping tung, which are long, thin eggplants that we always grow, and we like to do these as a side for our family Sunday dinner with my sister's family and my mom. We like to saute these in butter and salt and sometimes some garlic. And then the Black Beauty eggplant is a staple for us. I love to make an Indian eggplant dish that we serve with rice, and it's so delicious, and these are just my go-to for that dish. That's the main way we eat these. I think I'm going to do 6 per cup. I know that's a lot as well, but whew, the seeds are small and I will separate them. So I'm not worried about them getting too crowded. Eggplant for me sometimes have been really difficult germination. I'm feeling like those heat mats are going to be especially helpful for eggplant because I am so hit or miss on my actual germination percentage. They take a long time, but they also do like warmth. Try to space these seeds out a little bit so that they're spread out. Let's see, I have 4, 5, 6. I am going to make a plug for redwood seeds. They are local to us in Shasta County, and I love to support local, but I also love that they are climatized for our region. So it feels like they just grow really well. I've got really good germination success with all their seeds, and their seeds do well in my garden. The last one is a ping tung. I'm just going to do 6. My family really enjoys eggplant, so we always include a lot in our garden. I do sell some extras, but we do grow a lot of eggplant in our garden because it's beautiful and we all enjoy eating it. Now I'm going to top them off with the seed starter mix, and I have some dome lids I'm going to put on. As I said, I'm going to put these on a heat mat, and I'm going to go ahead and put them under the lights. I have light shelves in both my room and in my dining room, and they both end up completely full by the end of seed starting season. It gets a little crazy around here. I do not have an outdoor greenhouse yet. Honestly, for me, that feels like a luxury as a gardener, and the reason why is because the region we live in, it is really, really extremely hot in the summers. It's even extremely hot in the falls, and it just depends on the spring how fast the temps spike to triple digits. So there's a lot of the year that we couldn't really utilize a greenhouse properly. It would be too hot. I would love a greenhouse. I think it would help my seed starting. I think maybe it would help some of my overwintering peppers endeavors. But it feels like so much of the year would just sit empty. And unless I had one that I could fully open the windows and really try to air it out, even maybe roll up sides, you know, like a big tunnel, I just don't know if spending the amount of money it's cost to build one or to buy one is the most cost-effective way for us to grow food, because some areas you would use a greenhouse for a really extended season, and it feels like it's such a short season here. I probably am still saving money by having shelves and having heat mats and having lights, even having to pay PG&E because we do have LED lights. It's kind of a pain, it's kind of in the way, but I've also embraced it as true homestead decor. Always having our gardening and growing plants and food and processing our food and our harvests all over our living area, and I guess even into our bedroom. It kind of makes it really a farmhouse. It makes it reality and not just a sterile, pretty place to live. Even though I do love things clean and tidy, I also do appreciate like real life like this going on. I'm gonna push this aside and I'm going to actually start some sweet potato slips. I want to show you what I do. Last year I started them early in January. I had the best sweet potato harvest I've had so far. I like to do it, now these are pretty small ones, but I like to do it from my own sweet potatoes that we harvest. Just one sweet potato can produce lots and lots and lots of slips. And I actually, I left one in water all year long, and I have a couple slips that I took off of it rooting in my bedroom in water, which is so funny. The sweet potato had finally dried up. I mean, it had been in there for a really long time. It was getting kind of gross. In the jar of water, it was like the roots had taken over, but this is gonna get me plenty. So all I do is I stab some holes into the sweet potato so that it can kind of hover in the water, and part of it can be underwater and part of it can be below water, and it will start to produce these slips that come up, and then I pick the slips off and I take them and I put them in their own jar of water so that they will start growing their own roots. And when it is warm enough, I will transplant all of those slips out to the garden. Of course, I harden them off first by having them spend time outdoors to acclimate, so they're not just acclimated to being in our climatized house. But yeah, it's so simple. I actually need more water in here. I'll put more water in here, but that's all you do. And then you just put them by a window. Some people, I guess, put them on heat mats, but I never have had to. I put them by a window. It's probably the coldest place in our house. Our bedroom is not very warm. We have a window that is not even double pane in there, but it gets good light. So I put it by that window, and they have worked that way for me every year. I've had no problem getting plenty of slips, you know, sometimes more than I know what to do with. So we're gonna start that, and then they'll just be there. I have two kinds. I have the orange sweet potato, and I have the white sweet potato, and I would love to add purple. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that this year, but I do really like both of these, and we use them a lot in our cooking. And I feel like growing homegrown sweet potatoes is much creamier and much sweeter, at least in my experience, than buying like a big bag of store-bought ones. So this is some of my seeds already. We'll put that aside. And then we also started soaking ginger last night, and I'm going to get a clamshell over here, fill it with some seed starter mix, and we are going to start our ginger, and we're gonna wait for that to sprout. We grew a bunch of ginger last year. I'll link the video for you. And we harvested it, and I left some of the knobs out in the ground because they're rhizomes. They're similar to dahlias. We have dahlias that overwinter in the same bed that come back every year. So I figured, why not try? You know, it would save a lot of work and effort if I just always left some in the ground and didn't have to restart them inside. And I kind of have a feeling that's going to work. But just in case it doesn't, I'm gonna start them in this old strawberry clamshell. I actually have my grandma save these for me from her strawberries so that they get one more use of life, and I get a really free, cheap, easy container that makes itself its own covered kind of greenhouse. It has drainage holes already, it's perfect. I'm gonna place them in here, just lay them on the side, and these little knobs right here on the end, let me show you. They are not sprouting yet. It's better to use them when they're already sprouting, but right here, here, there's actually knobs on the other side. They can each sprout a stem, and they can become a beautiful tropical ginger plant that will produce food for us. And we really like ginger. We like cooking with ginger. I like ginger in tea. We like baking with ginger. We make our own elderberry syrup where I use fresh ginger. Ginger is great to juice or put in smoothies. It's really good for you. This is how it looks. I'm gonna cover it with a couple inches of soil, and then we'll also put this over just to sprout. It may take a month, and I'm okay with that. I'm not in a rush. I know I'm starting early. I know they can't be transplanted until the risk of frost is gone, and we definitely still have frost on our horizon. We definitely will have frost, or at least temps close enough to frost for several months still. Our average last frost date is in mid-March. I don't trust that, however. In my experience, in our area, even though that's what Farmer's Almanac says, I feel like it's safer to plant out peppers, eggplant, tomatoes, ginger, sweet potatoes, all of those types of veggies, more like the mid to end of April. Some people around here even wait till Mother's Day. I feel like we are well past risk most of the time by then. It's very rare that we would, for some reason, have something that happens at the end of April, early May. But, you know, there are people who just want to play it completely safe. There's also other people who will wait till all the snow is melted off of Shasta Bali, which is a mountain in the Trinity Range to our west. And last year, I don't think they were all melted off until sometime like the start of July. That would have been way late. But if there's a lot of snow in those mountains, it's a great visual indicator that it's probably not warm enough overall for things that love heat like peppers. Peppers, I always transplant like last in my garden besides the sweet potatoes because they really like it to be lows no lower at night than like 50. So I don't want to stunt their growth by putting them out too early. So I usually even plant my tomatoes, even my eggplant, my squashes, my cucumbers, everything goes out, flowers. And then usually the last thing that I transplant are the peppers, because I really, really want them to take off. They love warmth. They will do better planted out in the warmth than planted out when it's so cold, and then they don't go faster. Like, it takes them more time because they kind of get a little stunted. Okay, I'm gonna set aside this dirty water, and we are going to set aside this tray. Yeah, I wanna spritz this and cover it with my dome lid. I did invest in these new dome lids. I was using the really cheap ones from, like, I think it was like a Jiffy kit at Home Depot that had a little tray, little seed starting cells, little flimsy lid, and it was bent up and broken. This one was not that expensive at a local grocery store, and you can like turn it to let in some air or have it completely closed, and it fits nicely over it. And I think this will last me a bit longer. It's a little bit stronger plastic than the one that I used for years that probably should not have lasted me as many years as it did. I was like kind of making it work. Okay, I'm gonna spritz it real fast, just get it kind of, it is very damp soil, but I'm just gonna get it nice and settled in there. And then we will put this on our seed starting shelf on top of a heat mat. One year around COVID time, I was shopping for seeds online late at night, and they didn't have the sweet red peppers in stock in like a normal seed pack size. And so I just looked, they had another size, and it was, I don't know, like 2.5 times the amount. And I was like, sure, I'm just gonna put that in my cart and buy it. And I did the same kind of thing with the lettuce packet. And what came was this 1 ounce sweet pepper pack. And I think it said it was like 2,500 peppers of the same pepper. There's no way I'm ever going to use this many. And I think it was like 25,000 of the lettuce seed, which was the butter crunch, which we grow a ton of butter crunch. If you look out my garden right now, there's a lot of butter crunch out there. But it was so funny. I guess I was thinking like, oh yeah, I'll share with my sister. But it was way more than I could ever share with my sister. And I ended up sharing with local gardeners. I put them in little Ziploc bags. I sold them for like $1 a piece. I gave generous portions trying to spread the love, and I still have tons and tons and tons of these seeds. These will, stop germinating before I ever finish with them. But one thing I wanted to say is when I bought these seeds in 2020, it said the germination rate was 85%. Last year, I think I got about 85% germination from these seeds. I actually got better germination from these seeds than from some of my other ones. So seeds don't expire on the date on the pack. That's like their sell-by date to give them some sort of accountability of how fresh their seeds are, but seeds can germinate for a very, very long time. And I am fully expecting to get lots of germination from these seeds. Now in this tray, we're growing the YOLO Wonder Red, lots and lots of those. I did like 4 rows of those. And as I said, I'm double seeding every single cell. We're gonna do banana peppers next, and then I have blot, which is a really good type of bell pepper. It's really colorful, it's beautiful, and it's very tasty. I'm going to do the Corono de Toro, which, where is it? Right here. It's a good grilling pepper, and I am thinking I want to do more with my sweet peppers this year. I'm hoping. I mean, my girls usually eat all these in the garden before they even make it to the house. Banana peppers, Jimmy Nardello, the Corono, the Corbaci, which I'm also growing. This is a really good one that's sweet. They're really skinny. They almost look like a long cayenne pepper, but they're not. These are really sweet and delicious. And Sunbright we're doing, and then I have another type of yellow pepper I got from Halden Gardens at a giveaway on Instagram years ago. We're gonna do more of this too. So this is like all of a sweet pepper type of tray, and we like sweet peppers, we like medium peppers, we like hot peppers, and we like the crazy super hots like ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers and habaneros and Tabasco and Thai Dragon. We like all kinds of pepper, and it's actually interesting. My kids they're pretty good sports even on the heat, so I don't really have to tiptoe around on heat with my kids. I do make sometimes my own personal plate a bit hotter than everybody else's, but they do like a good hot pepper. I actually have going in the oven roasting some Scotch bonnet peppers and garlic and onion and carrots, and I'm going to make a Scotch bonnet hot sauce later on. I am not doing a video of it yet because it's my first time doing it and I don't know how good it is. I kind of want to test it first, but I found this recipe online and we had a bunch of Scotch bonnet peppers still in the freezer, so we are definitely going to try that, and my family is all game for new yummy spicy hot sauces. So everyone who was smelling it roasting in there, they're like, Mom, I can't wait to try it. And I feel the same way. I can't wait to try a new hot sauce. We love hot sauce. A lot of the black pepper seeds are from seeds I saved. So again, we're going to see how those go. And I hope that they do really well. And I hope that they germinate true. And we will see. I don't know until we try it. I am not sure what will happen. Gardening does not have to be expensive. I was just thinking about, there's that meme that is posted every year about, here is my crazy expensive tomato, and that you could have bought at the grocery store super cheap. And yeah, the initial investment on gardening is a lot, especially if you do things like raised beds or you have to build a fence like we did because there's a lot of deer around. But I was just thinking that I have bought very few new seeds this year because seeds will germinate for a long time, and because I have learned more and more seed saving for my own garden and having those germinate great, you don't have to do a continual expensive investment into gardening. And it feels like over time, those large investments at the start to pay off more and more, and you start getting more reward and more money saving from your garden, or at least that has been my own experience. I didn't buy barely any fall garden seeds, and all of the lettuce that we planted was from seeds that we saved. All of our garlic, all of our onions were from seeds that we had saved. A lot of stuff was essentially free for us to start. Yeah, we had to use the lights, the LED lights, and we had invested in buying one of the shelves a couple of years back. But, we used the ingredients for my seed starter mix. We used a good potting soil once we put them in cups. I did buy the cups because since I do sell some locally, I like to use some paper cups to make that easier to pass on. But overall, the cost savings and, the food we didn't have to buy at the grocery store far outweighed the price that we put into it. and it made those earlier huge investments pay off more and not actually be such a huge deal. I don't know. I was just thinking there's true things of seeing the seed catalogs and how exciting it is to see new seeds and try new varieties, but also it doesn't have to be something that breaks the bank. Gardening and growing your food really can be something that helps your family budget, your food budget, making your money go farther. In our experience, I would say it really has saved us a lot of money, and the investment was hard, and so that's why it wasn't until last year that we added the heat mats, because we couldn't do all of the big price things. And they're not a big price, it's just it adds up. But we can't do it all the same season. And so I think we might add some raised beds this year. We were adding and expanding every season, but we took the last 2 seasons off to expand. So that was a full year. I actually think it was a year and a half that we didn't expand, just because we were putting our money in different directions. Other than just investing in the garden, we started beekeeping. We are building a second chicken coop because we have some bantam-sized birds, and then the full size. And we want to make sure that the pecking order works well, that they get along and they have their own space. But all that to say, gardening can really be something that helps you save money, and seeds will last a long time and seeds will germinate a long time. And no, they probably won't germinate forever. I had some carrot seeds I tried to grow from that were quite a few years old, and I think I got 0 germination out there. And I'm not sure if it's because it was too cold or if it was the seeds were duds, but that happens sometimes. I know it's on my list to replace carrot seeds, but all the pepper seeds, they're doing really well. And the only varieties that I've added this year are ones I got from other people for free. I saved some seeds from ghost peppers from a friend of mine who gardens locally. I got some lemon drop peppers on a seed exchange on Instagram. And I'm gonna reintroduce Carolina Reaper, I think, because I'm trying some of the save seeds that I did from our harvest of Reapers in 2022. So yeah, it definitely can be something. You can spend as much as you want or as little as you want on gardening. In all reality, you don't have to spend, but you can. If you want to, you totally can. There's always interesting things that you can buy, always. Okay, I'm gonna put seed starter mix on this one, and then we'll do our next tray and our last little cups, and I think that means we should be good to go with the pepper starting for this season. All right, our last tray, I'm gonna tell you what's in it because I think it's always fun to hear what other people are growing as well. And then I am going to talk to you about something going on in my own personal life that is going to affect my gardening and growing food, and maybe even kind of affect the videos on this channel for a little bit. So first, let's talk about what the other varieties are, because I want you to know that way, if there's something that sounds good to you that you've never tried and you hear that we do it, maybe that will help you try it. We're gonna do Jimmy Nardello. I'm gonna do a couple rows of Jimmy Nardello. We love it. We're gonna do the Quinoa peppers. They're little teeny like teardrops. They are sweet with a tangy, slight spice at the end. They're very good. We're gonna do pasilla, which I really like the pasilla. I use this a lot, where I will broil these and then I will put them into my fresh salsa. I don't roast my salsa. I do want to try a roasted salsa recipe. I like roasted salsa at restaurants, but I love fresh salsa at home. But I do roast both pasilla peppers, and I also roast ancho peppers, which also go in this tray. I got this Isley Wax hybrid from Save Seeds, so we're probably not true to Isley Wax, but I got these from an Instagram gardener years ago, and these ended up like gigantic Anaheim peppers. I don't think that's what they're supposed to be, but they are one of my favorite peppers in the garden. I use them a ton. I love them. They're super fruitful. This is going to be started. I have Serrano, which Serrano are also incredibly fruitful. Serranos are super fruitful. Serranos are just a little bit hotter than jalapeno, and I use them as a base for a lot of my hot sauces. I might add something else in with it, but Serrano is in a lot of my hot sauces. We're gonna for sure do Serrano. We have, let's see, what does that say? I can't even read my handwriting. Oh, cayenne. Cayenne peppers. I grow cayenne, I dry them, and I grind them for our own cayenne pepper powder. We love that. Santa Fe Grande. These are a little less hot than jalapeno, but they're kind of fruity. They are similar to me as a jalapeno. I put them in salsa. I put them in cowboy candy. I like them in eggs in the morning in my breakfast. These are great. And Scotch bonnet are crazy, fruitful, wonderful Jamaican tropical pepper. They're similar to habanero. I feel like they're a little different. I really like them. That is the hot sauce that I'm currently making right now that is roasted. We use these a lot in so many things, and they are so abundant on our plants. I find it is one of my best producers in the garden. So we're gonna put those in here, and then I've got a couple more cups, and a lot of the cups I picked were like, I put them aside because they were more of the ones that take a really long time. That way, if these all germinate, I can separate those and keep them on the heat mat longer and keep them in a dome longer. That was kind of my thinking, and we'll see how that works out for me. I hope it works out well. Okay, so let's talk to you about just the real life stuff that's going on right now in my life. So it is the middle of January, and I'm actually starting my pepper seeds a little earlier than I did in the past. And I don't feel like they need to be started quite this early. I think the end of January is completely fine, even the start of February. Usually it says 8 to 12 weeks before your last frost date. So the reason I'm starting peppers so early, even though technically I could start these the start of February, I could start these end of January, is I have shoulder surgery on my left shoulder in a week. And it is on my left shoulder, which is my dominant shoulder. It's my dominant hand. Not only is shoulder surgery pretty intense to recover from, but when it is your dominant hand, it's a whole nother level of trying to see what you can do one-handed, what you can do clumsily one-handed. I've honestly been practicing brushing my teeth for the last month with my right hand, since that is very tricky and it feels like I'm so uncoordinated with it. But I wanted to share with you guys, it may mean I post less videos. It may mean I post some videos kind of in a different way. I realized that I wouldn't be able to do the simple motion of shaking the seed into my hand. You know, that's kind of daunting to think about, that even things I take for granted, like shaking a seed pack, is going to be something that either I'm not going to be able to do for a while or is going to be much more tricky. I'm sure some of you have noticed in past videos that I've had sports tape on my arm, my left arm, on my left shoulder. You don't always notice it, but I've been wearing it for about 1.5 years. I was in a car accident, and, you know, long story short, other things that were wrong from the car accident all recovered and did better, and that's one thing that didn't recover. So we've tried all the natural options that you can think of, you know, that we've been recommended, but it's just gonna have to be surgery. So I just want to say that, one, I would love your prayers for my recovery, that it goes really smoothly and quickly, and that my shoulder really does a lot better. But second, I am not sure if I'm going to do a video of us starting tomato seeds or not. I'm probably going to rely very heavily on my husband and a couple of my kids that are interested in gardening. And we'll see if that becomes a video. We'll see what things I can share on this channel that I am able to do or maybe need help with, and what things we're just gonna kind of skip over and we'll catch back up on them once they're in the garden. And it's gonna be about a 3-month recovery, but it's really the first month that everyone says is so intense. I should be able to do more and more with my shoulder as time goes on. So that is what's going on in my life, and I'm not gonna let it, you know, get me down behind. It's going to definitely be a challenge. I am not excited about surgery, but I am excited if my shoulder works better in the garden and on our homestead, on our little family farm. There's a lot of things over the last 2 years, almost 2 years, that I have not been able to do that I was able to do in the past. And if I regain the ability to do those things, it will definitely be worth it. But it's just gonna be kind of a process to get there. So that's what's going on in my life that is interesting, and maybe I'll even be able to do some videos on how to do, some different gardening tasks one-handed, or when you have different body issues, pain issues. That might be interesting. I know a lot of people do workarounds and they live with really chronic things, even more than I've lived with. And so it would be a topic that maybe, let me know if you're interested in a topic like that, because I might try to add that in, because I know as I do gardening and bees and chickens and even pruning our fruit trees and stuff, it's going to be something that is very gradual that I'm able to add back in what I personally am able to do. So if for some reason none of my other seeds get started, nothing else goes as I would like it to, I will at least have peppers in the garden. And that kind of shows you the place of priority that peppers have in our garden. I love, love, love home grown tomatoes, but I love, love, love homegrown peppers too. And I like that there's so many varieties that we can eat that it's not really possible to buy at the store. And even going to a farmer's market, there's a lot of varieties I grow that I had never ever tasted at a farmer's market or even heard of until I started growing them, because there's so many varieties of peppers on the market that, people just don't know about, and I didn't know about. One thing I love about growing ancho peppers is I actually bought from a local health food store in town. We live right outside of the second sunniest city in the US, which is super cool. But I bought a chili powder that was made just from the red ripened dried ancho chilies. And that's something that, even though I use them in a lot of things, I would like to get a lot of them to ripe and start tucking them away, because it would be fun to make my own chili powder from that, since I already know how much we like the flavor of that chili powder. Okay, so of these different cups, I decided to do a lot of them that took maybe a little longer to germinate for me in the past. And so I have Ralph Thompson squash pepper, which they're really cute. They look like little red pumpkins. They're delicious in chilies and lentils. Hungarian hot wax has been a hard one for me to germinate, so it's got its own cup. Habanero, Thai Dragon. I love this for hot sauce. It is our favorite hot sauce, is Thai Dragon. Emerald Green Bell. This was a friend of mine's favorite bell pepper. They did not germinate at all for me last year, so I'm trying them in their own cup to see if I can leave them on longer and see if they'll germinate. Trinidad Scorpion, 7 Pot Chocolate. All of the extra super hots, they take longer to germinate, so it's good to have them where they can stay on longer. Peruvian Purple is super pretty. The leaves are variegated, and the peppers are beautiful, dark, almost black purple, and then they turn to red when they're fully ripened and mature. Tabasco is another one of our favorite hot sauces. It looks like a little Christmas tree with the lights on it. They're really pretty in the garden. Lemon Drop, a friend online gave this to me on a seed exchange. What I'm gonna do is put them in a cup, and then I sowed extra just so that I get at least a couple. And then Carolina Reaper take a very long time. These can take 2 to 4 weeks to germinate. So that's gonna be in its own cup. A friend of mine in Tennessee named Daniel Kendrick, I grabbed a pepper off of his plant that was frozen, and I'm gonna see if it germinates. He didn't even remember what it was. So it looked kind of like between the size of maybe a type of Thai Dragon or something like that, but it was orange. So we'll try that out. And then Ghost Pepper. Ghost Pepper is another extra hot, so it will probably take quite a while. So all of these are my extra little things. They'll go in these trays, but I'll move them into their own tray if they have to, if they don't germinate in time. I will cover everything with seed starting mix, and then I'll go put them on my heat mats under the lights, and I wonder how long it's gonna take. I mean, I know, as I said, some of them could take up to 4 weeks, but I'm always like hoping that something germinates in a day or two. And I'm sure that you feel the same way if you start seeing kind of the exciting, like go check it over and over again, see if anything's happening. Thank you so much for joining me. And I do appreciate any prayers for my surgery. I'm actually really hopeful it's going to go well, but it will be a definite recovery time. And I'm very excited about the summer. I guess I'm even more so excited about the summer when I think about how much of the spring I'm not going to be able to quite do the things I want to do. So hopefully in the summertime, that means my body will be ready to keep up with all of my ambition. In the comments below, if you are growing peppers, let me know a variety of pepper that you're growing. And if there is a pepper I mentioned that sounds interesting to you, I also would love to hear if you're going to try adding that to your garden. It'd be fun to grow some of these together.